Happy evening, everybody. I hope we can start now, as we are at 5 o'clock already. Uh, so, first of all, I would like to welcome you all for this wonderful session, where today we have got two eminent personalities who will be sharing us their immense knowledge on the water saving front. So, I welcome all the Bhagirathas, modern day Bhagirathas, I call the participants, because as in the earlier stage, the Saint Bhagiratha had got water from Mount Kailash, from Shiva to the earth, to see that the earth, when earth was suffering from water crisis, so he got Gange. Likewise, all our participants today, or in some way or other, are like modern Bhagirathas who are doing their bit to save Mother Earth from this water stress. So, welcome to you all. And today we have with us Sri Padre sir and Mr. Deepak, who will be sharing their knowledge with us. So, first of all, I would like to introduce to you all Sri Padre sir. Sri Padre sir is a farmer by profession and journalist by obsession. Since last 25 years, he has zealously documented the information of common man and the success stories of the rainwater harvesting from all over India, and has been disseminating the same. Under his leadership and under his editorship of the Adke Patrike, 33-year-old unique form magazine, and all the farmers of in this magazine is coming in Kannada and created a niche market for itself, and in the unique farmer to farmer communication. This magazine has pioneered a campaign for rainwater harvesting in Karnataka, and thousands of farmers have successfully adopted rainwater harvesting reading this Adke Patrike. He has been a columnist in Vijay Karnataka, the leading daily, and has so far run 225 case studies in last 6 years. He was a regular writer of RWH success stories in www.indiatogether.org. He's a regular writer to the civil society. He has so far held more than 500 slideshows on RWH all over Karnataka. He has been instrumental in spreading a mass awareness on water literacy in the state. In between the year 2002 to 2005, he has traveled about 35,000 kilometers in Karnataka for awareness programs in rainwater harvesting. Hundreds of people have been inspired and implemented rainwater harvesting system in their own way. Sir has written about 11 books, and 10 are in Kannada and 1 is in English. Out of this, 2 books are on drought proofing. Welcome to you, sir. It is an honor to have you with us today. Sri Padre sir, welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you.
So nice. So, and one more eminent person we have today is Mr. Deepak Prabhu, who is a principal architect who is graduated from BVB College of Engineering, Hubli. He has worked 6 years before starting his own practice in 1999. He has got a vast experience of 27 years in design practice, including apartments, large residential buildings, corporates, interior and institutional buildings and hospitals. He is a member of core committee member of Indian Green Building Council also. He is specialized in the healthcare and hospital designing. He is passionate about construction materials. He believes in the idea that apartments should be compulsorily have water submeters to monitor the consumption. Welcome to you, Deepak sir.
Thank you, Vijay.
Yes, sir. So we can start with Sri Padre sir. Sir. Sir, we just wanted to know, with your vast experience of 25 years in rainwater harvesting, and you have been documenting lot of success stories. Though rainwater harvesting is such a wonderful tool to solve the water crisis, still we see that if you take throughout Karnataka, on at least Karnataka, we see that not more than about 2 to 3% of the whole total house population have implemented rainwater harvesting. Why? What do you think, sir, is stopping them from going for rainwater harvesting, sir?
The first and foremost factor is that people are still not mature enough to think that water is their issue and water problem is their problem. Especially in urban areas, they conveniently pass on the responsibilities to the maybe corporation or maybe to the administration body office bearers and things like that. Unless and until we take this issue as ours, things won't change. That is number one. Number two, this subsidized provision of water and distribution of equal distribution for water bill in the apartments and other things, that also worsens the issues. In rural sector, providing electricity for pumping for free, both in Kerala and Karnataka, that goes to the situation. We Indians don't think much beyond a few years, and whatever problem comes after a few years, we don't take that serious. Only when it pinches us, we start thinking. So all the Indian, whatever you mentioned, Bhagiraths or whatever, all the water activists put together, is a small entity when compared to drought. There is no powerful agency like a drought which can motivate people. Unfortunately, it's a very sad part.
Correct,
Even this
correct.
recharge wells, what you are mentioning, if recharge wells, I would say recharge well from a different perspective. Please don't mistake me. Recharge well, I would call as a Adhika Prasanga. Why Adhika Prasanga? It is like appendix. It was not necessary if the community took water seriously since quite some time. If we start water very seriously, we didn't want to go to this beautiful structure called recharge wells. Similarly, if in the rural sector, if you retain a little bit of the greenery, the canopy, rural side, we didn't have to go to this extent. But we have come to a stage when ordinary pills won't work and steroids have to be given. Thank you, sir.
Sir, according to you, are the rural people more to working towards the nature, and urban people suddenly have a layback attitude? Is it that just because they are getting sufficient water because we have seen that whenever Bangalore didn't have water, the water from different, even Agichi Dam was given, and even Garur Dam was supplied, and somehow, though there was no water in the local areas, they had to supply it to Bangalore, because Bangalore, being the capital city of the Karnataka, it is given special preferences because of the ITBT, and otherwise probably it may make a big news in the newspaper, if we don't have got water at the cost of the local people over there in the let's assume in Hassan or Belur and all those areas. Bangalore is given preference. Is that the one of the reasons? Do you think that we take this water for granted, sir?
Water is taken for granted irrespective of urban or rural. But wherever there is ample water, free water, it is very difficult for activists. It's a tough time. In my opinion, all this rainwater harvesting tech, we in India have great bunch of choices. In heavy rainfall area, you have more bunch of choices, and low rainfall area, you have less. But we have very effective technologies. But technology matters next. Changing the minds of people or preparing people for change is the biggest challenge in front of us. Go to Mandya, for example. Go to wherever canal water is there. People come to meetings. They sit there, but nothing goes inside. Same is the case with my own area, coastal Karnataka, Kasaragod, where there is ample water. The people think that they have enough water. In Dakshina Kannada, Mangalore and Kasaragod area, there is water in people's heads, but not in the open well. Open wells, many of the open wells are dry, but we are not shaken. A couple of years ago in Mangalore, one taluk was declared as drought stricken. This is historical. This should
Sir.
not have happened in a district where which gets 1.4 crores of liter per acre. But unfortunate, the very illiterate state district is highly the very literate district is unfortunately highly illiterate about water. So this is the paradox, sir. So changing the mindset is a very, very tough job. But we have some beautiful models also as far as watershed is concerned. India has wonderful, I'm very happy that over the last 2 decades, many wonderful success stories have emerged both in urban and rural sector. Take, for example, Bangalore also. This, whatever you are conducting webinar would have been a dream 10 years ago. I'm very happy that the people are sitting very seriously to discuss about water. Change is coming, but the change is slow. The change is not actually proportionate to the problem. The problem is elephantine, but the solution is very minuscule, unfortunately. Thank you, sir.
Correct. Sir, do you have any of the, so we see our whole challenges here is, how to convert these non-convert people, though we are trying our bit to educate the people. Lot of information, as you rightly said, lot of information is available about water saving, but still because of the attitude of the people, we are finding it so difficult to convert the non-converts. I was just talking to one of my friend here and telling I'm staying in one particular street since last 20 years, but not more than, though we have got about more than 30 houses in this street, only about 50% of them have got rainwater harvesting done. Though we are promoting this, they see a lot of activities happening in around our office. But what do you feel, sir? What may change the attitude of the people towards? Do you think it is unfortunate that we pray for a drought, but do you think we need a drought to teach all these people to go for rainwater harvesting and water saving, sir?
No, I would not go to that extent, but that is a reality. The drought has thousands-fold power than all of us put together to rather make people to act. But things we can only catalyze. We can catalyze changes. We can't expect overnight. This is a slow process. We can think of many of the catalysts. One of the things probably Vijay would be knowing, we are remembering, Vishwanath is not here. Since maybe a decade, we, the water activists of Karnataka, have been requesting government whenever we get an opportunity. One thing is, one thing I see, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I have Kerala on my left side and Karnataka on the left. I see differences in both. One thing is that in Kerala, I'm very sorry to say that, in Karnataka, I'm very sorry to say that, whatever minuscule number, there is a small chunk of people who are ready to do something, ready to do rainwater harvesting and have not done so because of proper guidance. So I think this is where, the enthusiast people like you can fit in. First, cater to people who are really interested, genuinely interested. In Kerala, unfortunately, the mind is much stuck with the subsidies and all that. Even a person getting 50,000 rupees salary, sometimes is not ready to bring a PVC pipe of say about 1,000 rupees. Not all of them, that such a thing is there. But one thing is we should create models. What we were requesting to the government is, to open up a rain center in each district with both examples, small tableaus of models, methodologies, of all the available, all the methods suitable to that area, and also a library, a multimedia library with all success stories and a documentation of people, address and phone numbers. I go from a small area. I go from Yeshwantpur. I ask, sir, is there anybody in Yeshwantpur who has done it? So if he's living, and also the rain center should be run with public-private partners. Only government, it won't work at all. We have beautiful examples how in Chennai it is working. Chennai, it is not public-private, it is private. This is one thing. And second thing is create models. What I have learned in some of the movements is, You talk, talk, talk. You know, whatever, however in your talk is, whatever in you have, when you become an activist, people start taking you with a pinch of salt. That happens. So after some time, you create some models and create some ambassadors for water and make them to talk. Their talk will be taken more seriously than your talk, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, we have a beautiful rainwater harvesting theme park created by our mentor, Sri Hariharan sir. Hariharan sir is our mentor for all these WOW activities, wherein, as I have discussed with you, sir, we have a target of saving about 1,000 crores liter for water, 1,000 crore liter water this year in Bangalore. It is like, as we are aware that we will be using, we generally use about 150 liters. So our target is, how we reduce this 50 liters per person for this 125 crore population, so that, we can have one more Kaveri here only, of saving that water. So the theme park of the Bangalore, which was a brainchild of our mentor Hariharan sir, is a very fantastically well, but it is very beautifully done with a lot of information. But unfortunately, the people visiting that is very limited, very, very limited. It is very unfortunate thing. I request Hariharan sir to please talk and ask anything is there on any of the members who would like to have this one knowledge of from Sri Padre sir can ask some questions. So let's have an interactive session, which would be better.
Thank you, Vijay. Our Sri Padre is doing a great job. He's a legend. Mr. Sri Padre, I have known you now for about, let's say, 20 years because of the writings that you have been publishing. In fact, shamelessly, I used to take many of your articles in those years between 2004, 5, 6. Later, you changed to, to talk about jackfruit also. So I have taken a lot of your articles and published it in other places with, of course, due credit to Adike Patre. So you are somebody I know very well. Vijay, you're doing a great job, fantastic job, actually. I would request you to continue. I think that last question that you just now posed is something that our Sri Padre sir should possibly respond to. You're asking all the right questions on the target for 50 liters. How do we reduce that? If today our average is 150 liters in Bangalore, for about 12 million people, about 1 crore, 1.2 crore people. If we can just bring in, to you, Mr. Sri Padre, I'm saying, if we can bring in, let us say, only 2 or 3 things. The Pollution Control Board has already made the sewage treatment plants as a mandatory requirement for all apartments, STPs, that is. The second is a very low cost, as one of our WOW members said even yesterday, low cost aerators for all the taps and faucets and such fittings. Of course, today what has happened is flush tanks, I think by default, even at the manufacturing level, they make it as dual flush tanks, and therefore 3 to 6 liters is available, unlike the 12 liter systems we used to know in the past. The third thing that I think we should be doing is to see how we can urge all apartment dwellers and flat owners to see that they go for what you are all talking about, rainwater harvesting. This is what we were thinking. If you can guide us or offer us your overall thoughts on how we bring down at least 30% of our per capita consumption in Bangalore, that will mean only for apartments, it means about 7,000 to 8,000 crore liters. We have done our math on this. We can, of course, explain that another time. So can you respond to this, Mr. Sri Padre? As to how we should go about.
One thing I would like to, to be clear is that your objective is to bring down the per capita consumption of domestic water from 150 liters to 50 liters.
Bring it down by 50 liters to 100 liters per capita.
No, so then what is your ideal per capita consumption, which you would like to ordinarily plan?
Fair enough. Ideal would be that every apartment consumes 50% on a reuse basis. That is, if I've got 100,000 liters every day, 50,000 liters must come for my landscape, for my flush tanks, for car wash and such things from out of reuse of existing water from the discharge systems. That means STBs. Apart from which, as you know, about 15% of our water requirement for a year, not on a monthly basis, can come out of rainwater, harvested from terraces with filtration systems and used for drinking. So that between these two, I would like to think if we say 150 liters is our per capita average, 75 liters, ideally, this is ideal, 75 liters can come from STPs, about 15 liters can come from rainwater harvest, and another 10 liters or so can come from two elements. One is what Deepak Prabhu and others have been advising, water meters and so on. Because the moment you measure, somehow I have seen in many apartments that the quantum of consumption drops a little bit. It drops about 8 to 10%. The other one is, of course, aerators. Aerators, clearly we know that as a measurable device, it can drop consumption of water. So between these four solutions, we are thinking that ideally there should be 100 liters of reduction from the current average per capita consumption of 150. However, our own members, many of our leaders and stalwarts who are present even in this meeting today, are saying that let us not aim for 100 liters of reduction. Let us aim for 50 liters of reduction in order to see that we are able to achieve a target that is reasonable in terms of accomplishing such an objective. Over to you, back again, sir.
Hariharanji, I would like to congratulate all of you for this very serious thinking. Some of this, I not being an urbanite, I'm not able to understand all these things. But one would, as a communication man, if you don't mistake me, I would say you keep this, target of 100 liters just between you and your wife. Don't make it public. It's not a good strategy to tell Bangaloreans that you should bring down the water to certain reason. Don't quantify that. Keep it in your mind. Keep it as a strategic point between you, this one. And all other ideas are really good. And, already there are some cases where, one of the greatest example I have heard, I had an opportunity to write about Bangalore's water and in the, context of million recharge well, that dream. I did a cover story in civil society. So I spoke with a good cross section of people and good people who have achieved success stories. One was Rainbow Apartment in Sarjapur Road.
And
Two things that was very interesting is that they have voluntarily paid for the recharge well, maybe more than 100 recharge wells, number one. Second, through consensus, they have put a slab system of paying for water. So this is a good idea. And some of the apartments where the individual meters with inserting your throat or showing PPT, people have silently started conserving water. See, ours it will always be better. Apart from instead of sermonizing, preaching, and all that, if they understand and they come out for conservation as an activist, doing something, that is really good. And if a couple of apartments, maybe your own friends who are already sensitized, can show this, then getting it through media nowadays. What is very important is you communicate in a very short time, maybe 1 minute videos showing what Hariharanji has said, achieving all, water, getting water through other arrangements, management, and then recycling and other things. This communication would definitely help, to spread the message. So if it comes from third party, maybe a good, sensible media house, or from the persons who have affected that always makes impact. And of course, there is a very, very beautiful idea that you are thinking to, rather to stand on your own legs, use all the intelligence, all the available water sources. People, at least now there is a stage has come that people have started thinking and calculating the water they are freely getting from the sky. This was not the case earlier. This was never coming. We would know. This was never coming to. Vijay has gone to Kannur and one on shopping complex. Wala said, so, sir, this has not come to our head at all. Whatever is falling on the sky as rain, that they haven't counted it all. But Bangalore is changing. It is good that you are thinking about it. It's good. We we have to draw some strategy and approach people to happily to rather join hands in the great mission you are doing. Thank you.
Over to you, Vijay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Wonderful ideas. And we seek your blessings and ideas, any of the ideas which are there. And we would, whenever this COVID is over, we would like to have you sometimes with us also. And about very rightly said, we need the support of the print and the visual medias, because so we if at all we can seek some help from you in putting our ideas into the media, so that we get some support from the people. So anytime any of your help would be a great this one for us, sir. I request any of our participants, if they have anything to ask Sri Padre sir, they can please unmute and please ask the questions, so that we can get the knowledge from the sir.
Namaste, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I am Mamta. I am a dealer of farmland rainwater harvesting system, and I just wanted to ask is that I have been pointing out this commercial complexes, and the main roads and the highways and all. How do we actually bring them to do the rainwater harvesting, which will solve many problems, even clogging on the roads, a lot of things, reuse, less consumption. Because I am seeing that most of the commercial complexes, they don't give much best, I would definitely like to take up this.
Very rightly said, ma'am. Sir, as you are mentioned many a times, the waterlogging and the water shortage are both the faces of a same coin. So what do you suggest, sir? What this surface runoff water, how it can be recharged, or what procedures we can adopt, so that the flooding is avoided and we can recharge also, and have water in the lean period also, sir. What is your take on this, sir? Sri Padre sir.
Okay. Idea over and over many Googlies. I thought the Googlies were over.
Sir?
Vijay, you would, big trains are there. We started this rainwater harvest since nobody has been doing. We started 20 years ago. Now more people, people concerned, people with a lot of influence, this are coming. I think this is a very interesting thing, but how to do it is really not that easy. It's always tough, especially people who in the urban context, more so in Bangalore, where everybody is running and nobody is walking. So one way you would remember, somewhere you influenced somebody and stormwater drain, they were doing some recharge pits or something like that. We couldn't trace that. Vijay, do you remember that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do remember. We had
that is one approach. You may kindly explain it also. That is one initiative that has to be put across with the administration to take it up as a policy level. Because this is a very, very big issue. Even small rains, whenever there is no flood elsewhere, Bangalore gets flooded in many places. So even in Bangalore, it has started. So people are not thinking about giving a passage to rain. Everybody is constructing, and there is no way for the water to go out. Rain has no mouth, water has no mouth, so it doesn't appeal for water. So somebody has to tell that you have to leave a passage. So people haven't left passage. So we have to do prayaschitta, atonement now. The recharge well is one. So at policy level, it is very, very important and much needed today. Wherever you construct stormwater drains, you can show that model. You can, or we can you can just voluntarily ask them, can demonstrate it in one stretch. So this is one idea that has to be very seriously put across the administration, I think.
Yes, sir. We should do that, and we have success.
So, wherever clogged to construct recharge wells from public exchequer, and make this paying for recharge wells is work of punya. It has two purposes. One is to check the urban flooding. Second, bring water to life.
Very true, sir. Very true, sir.
Ganesh Chandbag, you had some observation or question to ask of Mr. Padre.
Yeah, I mean, my precise question was asked just now. It was about the surface water runoff stuff in Bangalore and the flooding. I had question number 2 to Sri Patreji. Sir, namaskara. The question is, government spends crores of rupees in just preparing the DPRs for cleaning up Vrishabhavati and Arkavati, and actually nothing really materializes. I mean, only the governments change, but nothing really happens on the ground. What are your thoughts on this, sir?
India if one day if we can think of backing up some people, some opinion leaders of Bangalore, who can coming back can what we have seen. So taking a pool of people, Bangalore citizens are very powerful. Taking them to Western Pakistan, making them live for 1 week without water bottle, we bring a lot of change. So similarly, administration, this is a country where in 5 years, region, what's also revived. But how do we make people at power to understand this? Very, very tough question. Unfortunately, politicians, whichever party they belong, they're all taught born in same universities. And when they react very positively, we still don't understand whether they have reacted from a heart or from. I have seen in my 25 years of experience, I have seen only 2-3 IAS officers who are genuinely interested and wanted to do something instead of something. I don't know why. If
Sir,
such people,
can I come here regarding the Vrishabhavati? My friend's daughter, I think many of you might be aware. Can we open that thing? They had hired a US company. My friend's daughter was working there as an environment engineer, and in a big way, they got the survey done for the Bangalore water crisis. Probably we can get back to them. I have the source. I mean, she's very, I can get back to them, and because he asked about Vrishabhavati, and I remember they were here for a month, and in a big way, they did the survey for everything to connect the thing for stormwater, for a drainage system, and main emphasis was Vrishabhavati.
Yeah, ma'am. You can share the contact. We would love to have the details.
I will try to find out what happened next to them. Government spent a lot on that project.
That would be great, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, I'll do that, sir. I'll do that.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I am Neil Matthews. Can I give my thought?
Yes, sir. If you have got any questions to ask, you can please ask to Sri Padre, sir. Anything?
Yeah. It's a statement I would like to hear from all the eminent people. What I observed is compared to our leaders and business magnates in the Esther years, today's people are looking for quick learning. So we need, basically model places where they can do quick learning and understand. That is important because today's leaders are not reading like Esther years leaders. So reading and thinking is little less. So we need to have some way to make them understand the seriousness of this problem by showing examples and making them quickly pick up in their short time. That is one community, I think, the different leader level education. Second thing I think is when we talk about sentimental thing like water saved, all those things are punya. Actually, I think if it is communicated by students, children, it will have a larger impact in the families. So I think we should make a children water warrior forum in schools, and many teachers will be interested. And
Correct.
third community we should very seriously work on is the middle class and upper middle class, because there is a very significant impact. This middle class, upper middle class are in their position in the respective places. They are advisors and think tanks for the next level, superior level people. And they are the people whom the general public who are lower middle class or below are ambitiously looking for achieving to. So these three categories, if we address, and we should do a strategic approach, then I think there will be a very big, development in whatever goals we are hoping.
Very
This is my opinion.
Very rightly said, Neil sir. In our WOW forum also, we have the same opinion. And as Hariharan sir our mentor has told, the children are the best communicators. They will be able to talk, without any prejudice, and they will be able to communicate better. We rightly agree with you, sir. That is, Sir Sripatre sir, what do you feel that children's role in communicating, as Neil sir was pointing, sir? What have you had any of the incidents where children could motivate the elders to change their behavior, water consuming patterns? Do you have got any example, Sripatre sir?
Yeah, out of which what gentleman Neil has said, he has given 3-4 interjections. Very nice only. Out of which I rate that involving children as the number one and more result oriented compared to others. And there were some examples. Unfortunately, our market oriented media doesn't see in stories in that. For example, in SDM College, Ujjire, they did a great job, going to each school and creating some environment about water conservation, rain harvesting and all that. And it was students who were communicating, not the lecturers. Lecturers only facilitated. And what happened, one of the gentlemen, one of the students, maybe 9th class or something, he has become a master communicator. And the first thing he did is he just, he motivated his own father to do rainwater harvesting. And he was even playing with the neighboring families and all that. And they got good success. And that was, that made some dent in the local area. There's some kind of, impact. And in Mangalore, actually, since the last, I say 3-4 years, very, very interesting experiment is going on. Of course, this year, due to COVID and all, it's very less. They don't have any funding. One ZP officer, by name Mr. Sudhakar, suggested everybody, he was earlier working with the adult education, I believe. And in schools, primary and middle schools, they started something like this, they gave some sessions to the teachers. And they have a WhatsApp group which still is running. I don't say it's very active. Vijay is a member, I am a member. But one thing is that they didn't have any funding. They didn't have much money to produce some, props, publicity material and all that. But this gentleman, Sudhakar, has worked very, very simple. And the impact is there to see. Some did a very wonderful job, I will give one example. In Vittal, one school, I don't remember all the names. One headmaster, he did students to, make a study on the school taps. So how much water it is required to fill 1 liter bottle. And the impact is that they have to change all the old taps. They were wasting too much of water. So they brought taps which are giving very little water. And that is a small example. It looks very small for us, but think about how it is communicated so enthusiastically within their families and the next families. And when children get something very new to rather impress upon the elders the kind of power it gives to them. It's really a wonderful job. That instead of, I would say, if you don't mistake me, sometimes it will be more result oriented than to trying to get our administration to think about it and to act about it. Getting children, it will take time, but it will be more success. That's what I personally feel.
Thank you, sir. We are also of the same opinion, sir. So our this one thought has now fortified. That is a fantastic this one. So if members, thank you so much, Patre sir. We always feel that time is not enough to be with you and share, have your knowledge. So going to sir, that STP water usage, we would request Deepak sir to please let us know what is his take on using STP water, treated STP water on construction industries, because that is one of the industries where majority of the water is being used, and we have got enough and surplus STP water. Generally, this as we all know, that's STP water in many of the apartments where they don't have got proper plumbing system. So that's STP water is being used, thrown off in the middle of the night. Many of them, or is taken away by the tankers. So, and in the construction industries, we generally use that bore water for their construction activities. So Deepak sir, I would like to highlight what is the take on this. How you can promote using STP treated water in the construction industries, which will go in a very long way, in reducing the consumption of the fresh water, either from the ground or from the BWSSP. Your call, sir.
Thanks, Vijay. See, one thing is, I always remember you saying, if we hold a bucket under Bangalore and collect the water, we can virtually feed 80% of Bangalore's water requirement needs, right? That's what you keep saying. And the rest, maybe we can take it from an STP. So I'd like to just share one quick slide. Can I do that?
Yeah, please, sir.
See, primarily, I'd like to look at it as two things. One is the grading of water. Instead of just saying water, I think, why don't we look at it as, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, because even the United Nations is saying, we should not be using water quality of a grade higher than what is actually required. So the STP water, or whatever water, the treated water, the gray water, we can probably find, do multiple plumbing and take a call on that. And the second thing is, it's the perception of the gray water. If Singapore can use water for all their requirements and even sell that water, I think we have the technology to use it to wherever we need it. So why don't we use that? They have it's if you look at it as a perception, what they are doing is, they don't call it as sewage treatment plants. They say it's water reclamation plants. So it's more of a perception, right? So even the sewage water is they say it's a used water. So when you're wanting to use it back, most of my project, they say, oh, it's a sewage water. How can we use that? You don't, they don't understand that you have a technology where you can put in coke from one side and get a distillery from the other side. That is the kind of technology available. Okay, for whatever cost that is there. But it's more of a perception that people don't want to use. So at the end of it, that 70% of the water which is out of the sewage treatment plant of is let into the public sewage system, and it's not claimed back. That new water is what is being used in Singapore, and because they don't have water, about 76,000 meter cube of water per day is put back into the system. So why can't we also look at something like that? Because we have the water, whether it is the rainwater or the sewage treatment plant water, we have that water. If we can somewhere use it back into the system, we should be able to suffice our needs. Of course, they have a cost for it. They have that microfiltration, the reverse osmosis, UV disinfection. But somewhere along the way, whatever required for us, even in our construction field, primarily our biggest concern for using the STP water is the salt levels which cannot be removed away, because salt in construction can corrode my steel and can affect the concrete in the long run. So if we can address, I don't know what processes are available to remove salts from that water other than the RO, but maybe desalination, or maybe, I don't know, what is it? I can't recall the name. But if some processes like that can be adapted, I think definitely that water can be utilized. See, this basically the salinity and the dissolved salt is something which is a serious problem for the construction. Otherwise, I think that STP water, I'm sure you all know, can be used for a lot of other requirements. That's it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Very good, this one, sir. But except for means in case for using the water for concrete mixing, I agree ki there may be some issues of the salts and all. But what is the take on the curing part of the, sir? Curing part, does it matter whether we have any salts in that or curing?
When you have that quality water, it cannot be used for concreting or the curing, because eventually it will find its way into the concrete, to the steel, and it will start spalling. So I need to make sure that, see, even the IS code says that it has to be as per, they say it has to be potable water. Basically, it means that the pH level and the salts should be under control.
So if water is, we are able to treat the water to a particular, as you said, particular this one, we can use it.
Yes.
When we can treat the
these are the limits which we need for the water to be used at the site.
Yes, sir. But one thing was this one key, the perception has to change. Instead of using them as a sewage treatment plant, we should change it, as a water treatment plant, something like that. The perception has to change. Probably that is one of the big thing, because once we tell it is a sewage treatment,
removal of bacteria and viruses, that's one of the first perceptions. But that's, I think, in today's technology, a very easy thing to do. Whether it is chlorination, UV, ozonization, I'm sure a lot of processes. But it's this salt levels. If something can be done to that, then all this water can be used, and it's a huge amount of water.
Correct. Hariharan, sir.
Can I put a word, sir? I'm Suresh here.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Please. We can hear you, sir. Please, sir. Please,
sir,
go ahead,
in my observation, we are talking about all the salt level of treated water and all. Now, I'll give you a simple example. The stormwater drains around Bangalore. Last 15 years, in our area, the stormwater drain is carrying only sewage water. And that has not affected the concrete portion of the drainage system, or even the construction of the complete drainage system itself, which is concrete. It is carrying 90% load of sewage water completely. And throughout Bangalore, it is the same case. The stormwater drains are more or less carrying only sewage water. When it is carrying sewage water, and still for 15 years it hasn't given any trouble to the stormwater drains, why can't we use a treated water for concreting of roads or concreting of structures or whatever? For last 15 years, 2004, I stay in Ranka apartment, which is bang opposite to a stormwater drain of South Bangalore, which goes towards Madiwala Lake further down. 2004, the stormwater drain was constructed. Today is 2021. And 17 years are over. It's not carrying rainwater at all. It is simply carrying sewage water.
Sure.
Throughout the south of Bangalore, Bilekali, every direction. And it is 80% loaded, 80 to 90% loaded.
We agree
that
with you
has
on
not
this.
damaged the concrete structure of the sewage line. Concrete structure of the sewage line is not yet damaged. It is perfect condition.
We agree with you on what you're saying. Let me, there are the marvels of nature is such that See, when a material has reached a point of inertia, like let us say set concrete, after the first 15 days, you can put anything you like, sewage water or whatever else water. The process of curing, the process of setting the concrete, that requires water that is pH balanced. Ideally, it has to be alkaline. It is plus 7.5 or 8 or so.
Yes, I agree.
That has to do with
I
nature,
fully
nothing to do
agree
with
to
us. So, well, I mean,
Yes,
that answers your
I
question.
fully
Therefore,
agree. But even the damaged portion of the walls of the drain are not deteriorating.
agreed.
So
That it
what
will
my
not,
take,
because that's the
like
whole
we
problem.
can
That's
still
the,
make it a little more alkaline and still start using it.
well,
We are just
you
letting
know,
the water
the structural professionals will not accept that. It can't be put into the National Building Code. You know how these things work, and precision engineering calls for precision. Therefore, they will not accept such a response at all.
No, I'm talking about at least using for the concrete road curing. That is also the water which is put on the top of that.
Possible. You know, we could.
It is not that while making the concrete you are using it.
Okay, fair enough. We take your point, and it's back to you, Deepak. Would you want to respond to that, or do you want to leave it there?
Like you rightly said, we are governed by the IS code. Tomorrow, you know, we don't want to take a chance with using a water which is untested, and
Yes.
you know, we're playing with lives.
I want to ask Mr. Deepak Prabhu one thing. Then, see, my question now is that individual houses, what we do is we take the layout water, we take the borewell, whichever borewell water for curing or constructing. Like I constructed the house. Now my thought is that whether that had, you know, there was enough, I mean, whatever the quality was enough when I did the curing of the house, because there are seepages. There is an seepages are like now he's telling. And what about individual houses then?
No, whether it is an individual house or any other project, if the water quality is not good and it is used, water quality not good as in the sense, if it has got high chlorides or fluorides in it, the concrete life will be reduced drastically. And I've seen it here. I've seen it in you know, Bijapur and places like that, where within 5 years of the construction of the building, the entire structure has started falling, and that's a very scary thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I am asking now, you know, that my mind is working in another wave now. Then the
you're at least you're supposed to check the quality of the water which is being used in the construction.
See,
Yes.
for solutions, Mamta, you know, if you have an apartment, let us say, which is under construction, please tell us about it at the WOW forum. We will give you a very specific solution. Deepak, to you also, this is an offer I'm making, open offer I'm making. That is, post STP, we know what the properties of water are. If you do a water quality report on the 39 properties of water, I agree with you that it has to be in full compliance of the IS code, which means that it has to be fully, I mean, 100% potable water. What I will recommend is that there are people within this forum, some of them are present also today in this meeting, I won't take names just now, who are saying that if you have such a construction project, that they can supply water from out of post-STP treated water, as long as, you know, the quantum of water that is needed is reaching some financial viable kind of critical mass. Okay. What I'm saying is, if let us say there is an apartment with discharge water, post STP treated, that is, of let us say 200,000 liters, they are willing to take this up, treat that further, and provide it to some construction project anywhere. We can work together, Deepak, on this, and we can introduce you to other WOW members on this.
Meaning, I would like to add one point here. BWSSB sewage treatment plants are generating huge volumes of treated water, where there are no takers for that. Many builders can make use of that if it is very much usable for construction purpose. Technically, that water cannot be used for construction.
Yes, you're right. Okay, that's another possibility. Even in Yelahanka, they have, you know, that there are some 6 or 7 of these STP treated there. Sure, point taken. Over to you, Vijay.
Yes, sir. So, if anyone of you have any other questions to be asked to Deepak, sir.
I have one question for Mr. Deepak Prabhu.
Yes, sir.
In the slide, one of the slides is put up, you know, the usable areas of STP treated water as charging the ground. Can I just have a look
Yeah.
at the slide again, sir?
This
So
one.
time and again, say this is being told in various forums, but how far it is in conformity with the pollution control board norms? Does the pollution control board allow your excess treated water to be, say, discharged into the ground, or say maybe a defunct borewell? Is it allowed by law? There's one more question after this, but kindly answer this question first. I think you're written here. So even to charge the groundwater recharge, right? Is it permitted by law?
Again, see, we are talking about the quality of the water which is coming out. If the quality of the water is good, which is it's supposed to be after your treatment, then it can be used even for construction. That's what is there at the end of it.
No, sir, not construction. I'm talking about groundwater recharge. So
Groundwater
are there any clear standards by the Indian government? Or
Can,
any
can
other
I,
Yes,
can I
sir.
talk? Can it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello?
please. Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm a geophysicist. I think the treated STP water should not be put into the ground. And if you want to treat again, the cost will be more.
Okay.
Or the second treatment, the cost will be much more
Okay.
to bring it to the standards.
And the first point is there any standard by the Indian government or any
Yes,
central
yes.
pollution control
Yes,
board?
it is there, right? You cannot put the treated water, STP treated water to the ground.
So you know, when
Recharge.
we are telling this point that treated water can be put on the groundwater as a recharge, I think we must go much beyond this and see whether it is in line with the government's regulations or not. Otherwise, somebody is seeing this. If you're going to say implement it, is it not going to be a problem?
It is not suggestible. It is not suggestible.
So now the same forum, we are exactly getting opposite views. So what is the finality? That nobody is able to clearly tell, sir. That's my concern.
Ma'am, I have
No,
a
but
question.
there has to be some reasoning behind why it cannot be recharged. Because after putting in the ground is supposed to take care of water, correct?
Sir,
Yeah.
can I come here? There are three levels of.
We have been basically taught in basic things of how water grows to gravels of soils and sands and all, and then does a lot of filtration to achieve. In fact, there are STP treated water which has got better pH than BWSSB water, and we are still saying that BWSSB water has to be used for treating, doing various activities, and where sewage treatment water is not being allowed.
Yes.
Friends, I just want to clarify about recharging of ground with STP treated water.
Yes.
Now, STP treated water, as we all know, apart from many other contents, it contains more of nitrogen and phosphorus. On account of this, this water cannot be recharged into the ground. Okay, that is point number one. But by law, it is not allowed. But today, it is possible to send this water into the lakes, provided we reduce the content of nitrogen and phosphorus to a level that is acceptable to KSPCB, which means it's a tertiary treatment in the STP. So in the STP, we need to additionally treat, ensure that nitrogen and phosphorus are within permissible limits, and then it can be sent to the lakes in the neighborhood. Lakes are accepting.
Can somebody show the standards? I mean, at least refer what that standard is. I mean, telling generally, it can be charged, it cannot be charged. This debate is going on several times, sir. So where is the law? What is the law?
I don't have the
the
standard right
limit?
now with me. Right now, I don't have it with me. But the KSPCB has clearly specified what is acceptable. That is, anybody who owns an STP knows this information. And a certain level of nitrogen and phosphorus are permissible as permitted by KSPCB, because there are certain plants in the lake that absorb these two elements as nutrition. As you know, both nitrogen and phosphorus are nutrition for several plants, for plants. Now, these plants are particularly good at absorbing these two nutrients, so it can be sent into the lakes, but not recharged into the ground. If you wish to have the standard, the permissible limits, I can share it with you separately. I don't have right now. I don't recall offhand.
Kindly
Sir,
share
you
it
can
to,
check in the
kindly share,
KSPTCB
kindly share it
site
to
also.
WOW, sir. Kindly share it to WOW. What are the standards of water which can be
I'll share
discharged
it.
into the lakes?
I'll share it with Hariharan. I'm sure he knows how to share it with the others.
Yes,
Sure.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
Yes,
in
ma'am.
KSPP site also, they have given the clear instructions and standards. We can check them.
No, we want to know the standard, madam.
I have one question here. When the treated sewage water cannot be recharged, but how the government is allowing this same water in KC Valley project to be used for agriculture purpose or to recharge the dried up lakes in the KC Valley region?
I think the agricultural what type of agriculture means crop they are using, that also depends. If the then
I also have a
Yeah, I had attended one meeting about KC Valley with the government. I have some kind of understanding what government thinks about this. So basically, from KC Valley, the water is flowing towards the Chikballapur and the Kolar regions. And what government says is by the time it flows 40 to 60 kilometers out of Bangalore, everything will be normal. And I don't buy into this reasoning as well. So if there is a law, it has to be law for everyone. If groundwater should not be used for recharge, yes, stop Chinnaswamy Stadium from using the recharge for the lawns as recharge. The treated water for watering the lawns as well. That is also not permissible. It's something like this, right?
Friend, watering.
That also goes under the soil.
Lawns.
Yes, that also goes under the soil. So it should not be allowed then.
Exactly.
No.
So when they're running the
watering
IPL matches, they advertise that we are running this with the treated water and all these kind of stuffs. And when somebody wants to actually raise the groundwater level by using this water, they come up with all this nonsense laws. If there is a law, there should be a law for everyone. It should not be selective law for these kind of people and selective law for people like me. I don't buy into this agreement.
I agree with you. But treated water being used for garden or lawns is permissible. Why is it permissible? Because these plant nutrients that I mentioned to you, they get absorbed by these plants and lawns. So that is permissible. Directly charging it into the ground is not admissible.
One more point is like if the distance between the water source and the recharge well or pit is at least minimum 30 meters, then you may, means of some extent, not on a regular basis.
Sir,
Up to some extent,
who can be policing all these things? Knowing our Indian community, is it possible to monitor all these parameters? People will sneakily say, push these things to the groundwater. And as Ganesh put it, the government itself cannot flout its own rules. See, I think this is a very important point, sir. See, half of us are saying it cannot be discharged to the ground. Half of us are saying it can be discharged to the ground. When I ask whether there is any law saying that you can discharge, there is no specific answer. So let us first know what is the law, what is the Central Pollution Control Board law, what is the local law. I think we should really go deep into this matter before we simply say, discharge into ground.
Yes, sir.
I agree with Sitapati now. We are really talking theoretically. Somebody mentioned about KC Valley and water being sent out. It's quite possible that the STP in KC Valley treats this water to reduce the levels of nitrogen and phosphorus to acceptable levels. There is a tertiary process. It's called a tertiary process. In fact, most domestic STPs also are now in the process of installing the tertiary process. Once it is installed, that water will be acceptable in lakes. I think I would like to rest my case in this so that the session can proceed further.
Yes, sir. What we can do is, it's a very hot topic, and we need to further, know about the things, so that we can surely find out the way, so that we can help in recharging this water, because this is one of the important source. So we can always sit and find out how whether we can find a way where we can use this water for recharging. So this is good that, the topic is raised so that, we get that, we can talk about it and, find a way out. It is always good because whenever a question is raised, then only we'll be able to find the answer.
Vijay sir,
So-
one suggestion here, probably like we should have a small discussion with this particular theme.
Yes, sir. Surely
Yes,
we will.
yes,
We will.
yes.
We will have a. We will try to rope in experts into this, and we'll call our madam also. So that she will be also be able to, so that we can have one full discussion, and try to find out some ways and means, because we are at a very crucial junction wherein the water table has fallen very drastically bad, and we need some kind of because there is a huge water available. But what is the via media wherein we can treat this water to particular level, and where we can recharge, whether it's not the deeper aquifers, whether we can recharge to the subsurface. All these things can be discussed. So we will surely, with the permission of the members, core committee members here, we will take up this issue in a one more particularly meeting dedicated for this, because it's
Exactly,
everybody rightly pointed, it is a very important aspect, because which need to be looked into it, because the future needs that these kind of water to be recharged, purified and recharged and reused. When we have got technology to recharge this water to drinkable quality, probably we can even think of recharging this with having a proper discussion and talking with governments and central government agencies. So with these two, today we had two eminent speakers speaking about two different topics, and if any one of you have got anything to add on, I request you to please, so that we can that can be our this one for our next meetings. Can please
I have a question to Deepak sir, if I can.
Yeah, please, sir.
Hello, Deepak sir. Actually, I am your junior from college, much junior. So, yeah, that was a quick
Nice.
intro. A question to you, basically, like, why is the implementation of ozone systems in Bangalore very less when compared to the chlorination stuffs? I mean, is it purely based on the cost aspects or something else?
Primarily, I think, to what I understand, I'm not a very technical guy, but it's primarily two things. One, ozone is not good for the human body. So if there's a leakage in the system, then it can be toxic. Number two, generally we want to feel that the water is clean. So if you do a chlorination, you can sense it, right? With ozonization, you don't.
Yeah, but the same pollution control board classifies chlorine as a greenhouse gas.
Yeah.
So in one way, we are reducing water pollution and increasing the air pollution, right?
Right. You're true.
So
That's true.
So who will be the authority to do the trade-off, right? Who is the person who comes and tells us, guys, go ahead with UV or ozone, don't use chlorine?
Technically, I would like to offer the suggestion.
That's also below 1,000 crores.
Technically, I would like to. If
Someone is
somebody-
not muting there, please. Can I request you, Anjali, to mute everybody? Yeah. Over to you, Suresh Prakash. Who was speaking earlier?
Suresh
Deepak was
Bhai, sir,
speaking.
you can please unmute yourself and speak, sir.
Somebody wanted to speak earlier, when the disturbance came about.
Suresh Prakash was speaking.
I wanted
Mr.
to.
Suresh Prakash.
No, I think it was Mr. Dhanraj. No? Luke, was it you?
Yes, I
please.
wanted to say one
Please.
thing.
Please.
You see, between chlorination and ozonization, the difference is when the ozonizer fails, you won't know about it. When chlorination fails, you will know about it. This, apart from ozonizer being a little more expensive, most STPs prefer, domestic STPs, chlorine is the best method.
Yes, I kind of agree with you and I've experienced this, but that doesn't answer my question.
Fair enough.
Basically, my question was more about trade-off.
an ethical question that you're asking, I suppose, Ganesh. We will have to leave it there. These are all larger questions. We all have many such questions, which are intractable as far as challenges go. Since Ashok Nadkarni is here, can I request him to respond to this question on concrete and curing and water? You have worked on it for 30 years plus as a structural rehab person, and you understand concrete and building blocks extremely well. Therefore, I take the liberty of asking you, Ashok.
Thank you, Harijanji. Now, with regard to curing, when we need to understand what curing is. It's a very, very interesting question. Most of us think that curing means that we just pour water on concrete. Not at all. If we consider cement is a chemical. Water is also a chemical. So the hardened concrete is basically two chemicals getting together, and then there's a chemical transformation that takes place, and the cement becomes hard. Now, if I take a bucket of cement and add just one glass of water to it, you don't get concrete. If I take a bucket of water and add just 1 cup of cement to it, it doesn't become concrete. So there's a certain proportion, and that for the cement proportion in the water, we have a magic number called water cement ratio, which is about between 0.23 and 0.3. If you add that much, the right amount of water, right amount of cement combined together to give you hard concrete. But there is a problem in the sense that when you put in that amount of water that's just required for chemical reaction, the concrete doesn't flow. So we tend to add little more water. The minute you add more water, then there's more water, less cement, then you don't get the benefit of strong concrete. Now that's one. Number two, the sun is a thief. Is a huge, big thief. So when we pour concrete for a roof slab, and then we just keep it just like that for a few hours, then the sun is going to steal the water that should be available for cement to interact and react and become hard. The sun steals that water. Once sun steals the water, then the strength of the concrete comes down. So curing is essentially a process by which you allow the water that you have mixed with the cement to remain within that matrix for it to become hard. So basically, when you pour water on a roof slab, you are not allowing the water from inside to escape into the atmosphere. That is curing.
From a very refined technical point of view, you are right about that.
So now what I would like to come back, all cement chemistry is based on pure water. So in fact, Neville, who is the originator of this cement and is the authority of concrete, says that the water that you bring to drink, suitable for drinking, potable water, is the water that you must use to make concrete. So I think that one sentence encapsulates, the kind of water that we need for concrete.
The Pollution Control Board, Karnataka State, says that there is 52 crore liters that is used by the construction sector every day for about 300 days in a year. That's about 15,000 crore liters. When our total demand in Bangalore for water, I mean at the human levels and other levels, is about 70,000 crore liters. In fact, you saw Deepak's presentation. He's talking about 76,000 crore liters. So what would you do, therefore, to solve this problem of construction water, Ashokji, here in Bangalore or in any city?
Well, one of the things that we require to do in a war footing is that we need to develop processes and products for construction that do not use a lot of water. That's very, 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 very important, because construction takes up a huge amount of water and we don't need that. We shouldn't do that. We have to invent ways. I'm continuously amazed and shocked that we have not come out with better methods of construction, and we continue to just we use water as though there is no tomorrow. We need to have elements, building block elements that are just perfect, like precast, micro precast, these things that have very good tolerances. If you compare the car industry and the construction industry, car industry is so far ahead, nothing is wasted. Whereas in the construction industry, the Institute of Lead Construction has estimated that we have between 25 to 40% of waste.
Absolutely. In fact, the joke is that 5,000 rupees per square foot, you buy a house,
Yes.
And the same 5,000 rupees per square foot, you buy a car,
Yes.
and you know the quality you get in a car and in a house.
Yes, absolutely. So we all need to use our brains to develop better technologies for this country. In this country, we pay so much importance to a house. We beg, borrow, and steal money to build a house, a roof for ourselves. But at the end of the day, if you really look at it, today, if I ask you to buy a 30-year-old house, you'll immediately say, oh, that's a very old house. I'm not interested in buying it. That's crazy. Because the amount of money that we put in, that means the whole house is going to get depreciated in 30, 35 years. I really cannot understand why we are spending so much money even to build a house if I'm not going to get any value out of it after 35 years.
So you have to come back to a solution for this 50 crore liters per day, per working day, that the construction sector is spending, and the building industry is getting a bad name, therefore. And people like Deepak Prabhu as architects will also get, therefore, a bad name. What should we do?
What we need to do is put in some money for research, which already is there in the public domain, but we have not been able to put it together because the people who have developed technologies like this are not able to put it forward to architects. Architects and engineers need to sit together and take these building blocks, like Lego building blocks, for example, where you can actually build without mortar, without jointing mortar, and which don't require curing at all.
Agreed.
There are technologies available.
Very nice, very lucid explanation. Thank you. Gautaman, since you are here and you are talking about how you can sell treated potable water with your membrane technology, if you are given wastewater, can you respond and give all of us a solution? Vijay, is that okay with you? I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hari.
Yes, Gautaman.
Yeah. So actually, me and Vikas, we are working towards taking this wastewater and then convert it to a potable quality water, which we can supply for industries. Especially industries also require huge quantity of water for the industrial processing needs. So we are working on it. First thing, that is very much viable.
No. Straight, direct question to you. If let us say there is an apartment which has got 2 lakh liters of excess discharged water treated STP after STP treatment. Now, will you be able to treat it, make it potable water and feed it to the construction sector, to a particular construction project in that area? Can you, yes or no?
Yes, of course we can do.
Deepak,
okay.
If you have such projects, you can talk to them and we will see how we can get, some solutions like this for the city going. Yes, Gautaman, sorry, you were saying something. I interrupted.
I want to bring in a point when we were talking about the potable quality water, right? When it comes to construction, especially using the STP treated water, right? We always concerned about measuring the quality of STP treated water. Have we really measuring the tanker waters or bore waters which we buying for construction? Does the water meet the standards? Are we doing that testing? Because we believe that it is a bore water or a water supplied by municipal body. We believe that water meets the potability. We blindly consume it.
Deepak, can you respond to that, please? Because people are using tanker water.
It's a very valid question, and it happens at many of my sites. But to a great extent, we are saying if it's a tanker water, it has to be tested. But if the tanker source is getting changed every second week, then we have a challenge. But yes, we are insisting on checking that water.
Yeah, this is a problem. Like, see, it's a common problem everybody goes through, like measuring the quality of water when it comes to this private tankers. Getting the consistent result is a big challenge. So, but having the system like this, right, taking this sewage water and then further treating it, make it potable. So we get a consistent quality because this is being processed by an machinery. So that is being guaranteed. That's what we are stressing out.
No, but in this particular case, I'll be more worried about the source of the tanker water, which is getting fed to apartments where there is no water.
Yeah. So, yeah, can I add, Mr.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So basically, what we use is like a membrane-based filtration. So it is being ensured that with the point which you mentioned, dissolved solids, TDS, which you are concerned about, or other dissolved mineral salts in the water, that is being taken. Yeah.
Deepak, short point for you is this: that the water that will be offered is new water. You showed new water in Singapore. It is that water. It is absolutely potable, even better than Kaveri water for you or any tanker water.
Then we would love to use it.
So we will rest there and over to you, Ashok. To Vijay. I see that is to all of you. I'm saying that there obviously is some sets of solutions of this kind which technology is enabling in the last, say, 5 to 6 years. This was not there earlier. As many of you who are veteran engineers here, including Ashok Nadkarni, you all know that for 100 years, we have only said we must get long distance water, drink it and discharge it. That is it. We never thought of using water. But in the last 10 years, there's been a tremendous, phenomenal change in the way that even human behavior has changed. I mean, has brought about that transformation. The next level is what we are looking for now. It is not like there has not been change. There has been very, very positive change in the last 10 years. For example, as our Mr. Sripatre said, 10 years ago, a meeting like this was impossible. It was a dream. That is the word he used. Today, these things are possible because there is a clear perception of need, of these things. But people are still skeptical. They don't know what solutions to take. They don't trust people. There is a massive trust deficit when there is a vendor who goes to your place, if you're an RWA or if you're a customer or if you're a buyer. I mean, it's not just in India. We are human beings. We don't trust anybody until we have reached a point of some relationship and confidence. I think, therefore, with good leaders like Deepak Prabhu, thank you, Vijay, for having brought him. Thank you for bringing the water veteran, the legend called Sripatre. It is people like this who have been trying. I mean, the generation of Sripatre has been doing some phenomenal work for so many years. And I know Ashok Nadkarni for being a phenomenal innovator in building materials and many things like that. And he understands the engineering process. So these are people who can bring change. People like Deepak are leading projects today. I think we have enough things to go. We will also invite Deepak to join the WOW movement as we go along. Over to you, Vijay.
Can I make one comment, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a different perspective. I have been watching a documentary on Netflix on water, on potable water.
Right.
And how bottled water was never thought of maybe about 10-15 years ago.
30 years ago, let's say, yeah.
Explosion. And there was no market for water. Correct. A market has been created only by marketing.
Absolutely.
Only by marketing. Okay. It's a very interesting documentary. I urge all of you to watch the documentary.
Yes.
So I think what we are missing here is that we have not been able to market this water.
Absolutely. Like they say, if we know how to make sustainability sexy,
yes,
the consumption will happen from the market front, or we will have led the intervention on the market front.
Can we create a product called construction water and then say that if you use this water, it will have less salts, and your life of the building will increase because it's better with your concrete. So call it construction water and market it in tankers, and it has to have a certification, it has to have a labeling. Make it a product and do it so that you ask for that water. The client asks for that water.
Gautaman, you're listening. Please do some homework on this. Talk to us again. WOW will enable you.
Sir, I have one question for Mr. Ashok.
Can I interject?
Definitely, yeah.
Let after Mr. Sitapati Rao, after him. Yes, please.
Can I talk, sir?
Yes, please.
I have one question for Mr. Ashok.
Yes, sir.
I think he has been telling about the Indian condition. Fine. What is the scenario across the world? Is there any country where they have already perfected the kind of water which is suitable for industry? So why not we just replicate it instead of telling what is the scenario in India? What is the status across the world?
Mr. Sitapati Rao, you have asked me an absolutely stunning question. Okay, I have been to many countries across the world, and I have found that I have tried to bring in various technologies at various times into India. And I have found that most of them just fail in India because it's very difficult to understand the Indian mind. The Indian mind is a completely different mind. The technologies are successful across the world fails in India. Okay, so we need to develop a way to market it in India. We have our own cultural baggage. We have our own way of looking at things. Okay, so we have to develop something suitable purely for India. Of course, we can take pointers. Singapore has been very successful in marketing its water for various construction sites. In fact, they use it regularly. As Hariharanji said, they make it even better than our Kaveri water. And then they use it. And there are laws which mandate that you must use it in certain places. Okay. Now, coming to laws, that will take a long time in India. But what you can do is enthuse the public to ask for it. Let there be a pull from the market. The minute you do that, you know, one thing the Indian mind, the house or a home for a person is extremely important. As I said, they'll beg, borrow, steal money, but they'll bring it so they want to have a roof over their heads. Okay. When that kind of sentiment is there, we do so many pujas to start the house, to finish the house, griha pravesh, this, that, everything. You know, there is that attachment to the house. When you say that you must use pure water because it's your house is going to give you shelter, then, you know, you'll have struck a chord. And I will take 2 more minutes, Hariharanji, with your permission, because I just cannot restrain myself from talking about this. We have been talking about rainwater harvesting in this country. Okay. What we need to do, I mean, you may take it as a joke, but I'm very serious about it. See, the Lord of Rain, Varuna, gives us water free of cost. Free of cost, he gives us water to our house terrace. Okay. And then we allow it to flow away. We need to create a story, that a narrative, and tie up with all these Vastu people and other holy people to say that when the Lord gives you so much wealth in the form of water to your terrace, you allow it to go away. What's going to happen is that your wealth will also flow away. You have to catch every single drop of water, then your wealth will remain with you. Otherwise, you're going to become a pauper by the end of your life. If you can create that and market it and connect it to God and puja and so many things, I'm sure that we are going to save rainwater. And rainwater harvesting is going to become a success. I'm sorry, not a joke. I mean it in all seriousness, actually. That narrative.
I think it is well said. Well said. I think that is what is required in India.
Actually, gold industry did it.
Yes, yes.
In fact, the gold industry did it. And also, if you look at what he told, I absolutely agree. Like M-Sand initially was not accepted. People were still, bribing and getting river sand. But today I see people go for M-Sand straight away.
Very true, sir. Very true.
So Mr. Ashok, sir, I have in lighter vein, I think I can tell one thing. If we say, supposing Germany is already perfected, use of STP treated water for construction, probably in India, people will agree. If you say Indian construction water with German R&D.
Correct. Absolutely. I got
We
it.
all need to use our brains, sir, and we need to come up with a narrative.
Absolutely.
The irony of India is that we are willing to leave our slippers at home and walk on the road to reach the temple, thinking that we are going to be very clean when we reach the temple.
Yeah.
The fact remains that if you wear your shoes and go to the temple, your feet will be clean. But we don't believe that. Somehow, we accept that. On our road.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All bacteria we can bring.
I know.
More than bacteria, it will be the gutka spits all on the road.
But this is India.
Vijay,
Nobody can understand. Nobody can understand India. But having been born in this great country, I think we have understood it. Let us work with that and create different kind of narrative.
Excellent, fascinating points, Ashok. I must
Sir,
say.
one more point, sir.
Yes, please.
Like, people are ready to do like golden cupboards or anything, but when it comes to rainwater harvesting, if we say 1 lakh rupees for in independent houses with the piping, all those things, 1 lakh they are not ready to spend. If it is the 1 crore villa or anything, they are not ready to.
We know that.
Very, very unfortunate.
1 lakh. They will not spend 2,000 rupees for an aerator. Please ask all our members. They will tell you. We are all great champions of such, stonewalling, shall we say?
Sir, can I have a question for Mr. Deepak for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Please.
See, in BCIL, which Mr. Dr. Hariharan was heading, I saw in one of their plants, one of their ventures, there's a separation of a grey water and a black water. The grey water is treated separately. Black water is treated separately. And it's a recycling. After when the grey water used for toilet flushing, of course, it goes to the STP. Now, is there any simplest method? We simply collect the grey water in a tank, and with a simple process, if you can say treat it, then what happens is, why is a taboo for many places to use STP treated water for toilets? One reason is, if it is going to give bad smell, naturally people will complain. So naturally, anybody who is in a flat complex, if his bathroom is going to emanate bad smell, so nobody will agree for that. Now, is there a simple process by which you use exclusively only grey water for toilet flushing, where smell is not at all a problem? Can we not have some defoaming agents? Maybe you are building 2 STPs. But if one STP cost can split into two with almost the same cost, or maybe another 25% escalation, and if this can give a stain-free and smell-free this thing, is it not a better thing to happen?
It's already available, Mr. Rao. Amazing that you remember 10 years later, whatever project you saw. But the thing is that, these things are available, Mr. Rao. Today, I know of at least 3 or 4 apartments. I was speaking to one of them yesterday or day before. They're doing such dual plumbing systems with grey water treated separately and used for certain purposes, and, black water treated separately also. This is slowly coming into vogue. As our Mr. Sripadre said, change is very agonizingly slow. But over the last 10 years, I am seeing that definitively there are changes of this kind. I think in the last 3-4 minutes, 2 things. One is, I think Niranjan Khatri wanted to say something. After that, I thought we will request Mr. Sripadre to share any reflections, since he comes from a context of being in the media as well as being a technological person. Niranjan.
The construction industry is very good at making PERT charts. And when you go to their project office, they have some lovely PERT charts with how much steel they use, how much sand they'll use, etc. But when it comes to water, there is no subsection for water, number one. One of the ways to market a product is not just through bells and whistles, which is the common practice of the construction industry, but to also state that how much water they have used in the construction project. And I call it the embodied water of projects. And nobody has taken this up in serious earnest. So if this could be one of the marketing strategies, then the people in the project stage, they will start looking at water and say, okay, I'm going to use 100 liter, but then there'll be some young innovative guys like Ganesh who will say, no, we can reduce here, 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 and bring it down. And therefore, if this kind of statement is made by that particular project that I have used 10 liters of water per square foot, vis-a-vis somebody else who's using 50 liters of water, then you are giving it a marketing push. And this is an opportunity which has not been tapped in India and perhaps nowhere in the world.
Sure. One thought for you, Deepak, stemming from what Niranjan says. Supposing you asked your client to ensure that as a clause in contracts for execution, they put in, these 2 or 3 elements on water, what they are. Will that help? And can you take this up in the IIA also, so that other architects are also doing such a clause into their contracts?
So a simple thing, I've been asking for sub-meters and I haven't had many clients who have agreed to that. And we're talking about 15,000-20,000 rupees per apartment. They don't do it.
Thank you. I know the answer there. Back to you, Vijay, and to Mr. Sripadre for some concluding reflections that he may want to offer.
Yes, sir. Sripadre, sir, as sir was asking, what is your, this one, sir, final concluding remarks on this, sir?
Any broad reflections, Mr. Padre? Is he there?
Sripadre, sir?
I saw him there a little while ago. But, because his network has been poor wherever he is. I think
he's muted, I think. He's muted, I think.
Yeah, he's gone out again. He's going and coming back. So that's what I thought. Okay, never mind.
Sir, I want to ask one thing. Yes, I read somewhere that ACC has come out with rainwater bricks for the pavements and for outside. Is it true? Somebody from the construction line was talking about it, no?
It's okay. Yeah. Products and products, so that's okay.
Is it there?
No, there is no such thing as specific for this. They are using channels, and like our Mr. Nadkarni said, our Ashokji said, everything will be marketed sharply by larger conglomerates.
I think what you're talking about is permeable concrete.
Permeable concrete, very simple ones.
No, sir, they have come up with tiles, sir. I have seen it in their ACC.
Correct.
I was connected for many years.
Yeah,
is it there? Actually, it is there. It can be there, and it is durable.
See, we have had cavity blocks forever. You know them. In clay we have had, in various other materials.
Yes.
It's the same thing. They are just putting one marketing spin on it, which we should be doing in vow, as our Ashokji said. See, as he is writing there, for every 1 lakh square feet of construction today, we use about 15 lakh liters of water. For 1 lakh square feet, 15 lakh liters of water, he says, 1.5 million liters.
My God, my
It's
God.
criminal. We all, every architect and builder has to be arrested for this. You know, this must come as a, forget about contractor clause. This has to come in the IPC now. There has to be a
But the hard reality is that 1.5 million liter is actually supplied by a local MLA itself. So
I'm sure. Okay,
and that's the mafia in Bangalore.
It's 6:35. Vijay, I think it's up to you now to bring closer.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I just
Yes,
there
Neil.
hello,
Yeah,
I am
go on,
Neil.
go on. Yes, Neil.
Just one thought I want to share is you all are civil
uncivil engineers. Yes.
Actually, they use ice, crushed ice in the dams and pillar and this huge structure construction. I think that will actually save a lot of water. Because the flowing water compared to ice that will the water, the total system much more water efficient.
Somebody I'll put it like this to you, Neil.
Another one point is
Another point gone.
One more point, like we were discussing about the recycled water STP, but there is also another huge water wastage which happens, even which makes the lakes non-residable for any living things, is the RO output. Like recently, me and Vijay did a hospital water study, and we found that hospital consumes 13 lakh liters of water in a day, and they pump out about 6 lakh liters of water every day to a nearby lake, which has no fish.
Understood. We'll put it like this to you.
That is also like STP. That is also like STP water, something we should think about.
It's bigger than STP, I think. That RO reject water is like, it is a bigger issue.
Absolutely, Maithili,
because
you're
80% water we are wasting.
Sure. Yes. Okay, back to Vijay. I'll only say this much to all of you. We have a target of 1,000 crore liters. If we demonstrated this in Bangalore with proof that we all did it together, the government will listen to us. Others will start coming to us. Success will breed success. Over to you, Vijay.
Yes, sir. Today we really had a thought-provoking, interactive session. I thank, first of all, take an opportunity to thank Shripad Reddy, who gave us a lot of examples and who gave us this one where we had thought that children's are the better communicator when it comes to saving water, as our mentor had put it earlier, and again we got from one more Shripad Reddy, who told us, and probably we should take it up. And as when it comes to using STP water, it is a debatable subject, and a lot of things research need to be done. A lot of research need to be done, but it has to be done because it is one of the industries which consumes huge.
I think our Shripad Reddy is back again here. He's come back.
So can I request Shripad Reddy to please give his opinion, sir?
Mr. Shripad Reddy, any concluding reflections from you? I can see you have come back.
No,
Mr. Shripad Reddy, he appears under the name of Piyush Ranka. Must be somebody's mail host he's using. Okay, sorry, Vijay. I saw his name there, so I thought I'll ask.
Yes, sir. So I take this opportunity to thank Shripad Reddy and Sri Deepak Ji for a wonderful interactive session we had. We thank all the participants. It was really a brainstorming session for us, and surely we'll take it up. And as pointed out, we'll have one particular session only for STP water.
Absolutely, and we will get Mr. Nadkarni and others to be speakers on construction water.
Only construction water. Yeah. So one particular one, total meeting.
Wonderful experts. Yes,
sir.
Lovely. Okay.
Dr. Hariharan, one last question for you.
Yes, please.
Submission rather.
Yes, please.
Your views on this Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev's Kaveri calling. Is anything happening, sir?
it is best that we leave it there, Mr. Rao, because, yeah.
I thought so much.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah.
So with this, probably we can conclude the session.
Yes.
We are past 10 minutes, 6:30.
Absolutely. A very lovely session, but thank you so much, Vijay, for doing a fantastic session, I must say, lovely thoughts that came about today. Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
It's a
Vijay.
wonderful session.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.